Hey guys, have you completed your assignment? How do you feel about assignment? Is it difficult or is it very easy to you? So no worry, if you have problems, just text me or email me, then I will provide my feedback to you as soon as possible to help to improve your understanding of the program educational objective. So in this video, we will learn about program learning outcome. So after this video, you should be able to learn these three things. You should be able to describe the key issue when writing the program learning outcome. You'll be able to determine the characteristics of the program learning outcome, and also you'll be able to describe the 5 clusters of learning outcome. Okay, so let's go to the first key issue that normally people will encounter when writing the program learning outcome. The first key issue, how many program learning outcome we need to prepare. So like for example, program educational objective PEO, we know that we need to prepare around 3 to 5 PEO for each program. Then for PLO, normally we will prepare 8 to 12 PLO accordingly. But basically you will see in the market right now, normally the number of PLOs that we have for the program is range between like 8, 11 or 12. Yeah, so 8, 11 or 12. There's no specific answer that whether 8 is the best, 11 is the best, or 12 is the best at this moment. However, it will advise that all the PLO that you have set, no matter it's 8, 11 or 12, should cover all the 5 clusters of learning over here. So the cluster of learning according to MQF 2.0, Malaysia Qualification Framework 2.0, these are the 5 clusters of learning outcome that need to be covered by the PLO for any program, ranging from knowledge and understanding, cognitive skills, until ethics and professionalism. So all your PLO, no matter you have 8 PLO, 11 PLO, or 12 PLO, you should cover all these 5 clusters of learning outcome. And also this is the explanation given by MQA right now, and advising whether we should 8, 11 or 12 PLO. So whether you have 8, 11 or 12 PLO, the most important thing is that you cover all the 5 clusters of learning outcome over here. So again, you ask 8, 12 or 11, right? So it need to be refers to the your institutional practice. Yeah, whether in a university you are practicing or in your school you are practicing 8, 11 or 12. This basically deal with the operational matter, because you remember that all the costs of the CLO later on will be mapped against your PLO. So it's good that you have a standardizations of the PLO, the number of PLO in your school and within the university itself. So which means that the university should determine how many PLO you should have for your program, whether it's 8 or 11 or 12. Yeah, how you break down the cluster of learnings over here. Okay, so in the next slide, I will explain to you how people are dealing with this 8, 11 or 12 PLO, how they break down the cluster of learning. So before that, you have to remember that all this cluster of learning is basically a scale. So your PLO itself is a scale. So no matter you have 8, 11 or 12, you must make sure that your PLO are mapping to one scale at one time, which means that it is a one-to-one mapping for your PLO to map against this 5 cluster of learning. Yeah, to map against this 5 cluster of learning, it should be a one-to-one mapping. Yeah, one-to-one mapping. So one PLO map to one cluster of learning. Okay, so let's see the next slide. So the next slide, I've shown you about the 3 type of PLO, 3 number of PLOs that we have. So those institutions who are practicing 8 PLO for all their program, so this is how they break down the category most of the time. Yeah, so they have like knowledge and understanding, cognitive practical skill, interpersonal skill, digital leadership, personal and ethics and professionalism. So for those who are using 11 PLO, they further break down the digital and numeracy scale into digital skill, one component, and then numerical skill, another component, rather than combining it up. Then personal entrepreneurship, they do the same thing. They break down personal to be one skill, and then entrepreneurship to be another skill. So some institutions do practice 12 PLO, where they further break down the ethics and professionalism into 2 separate categories. So if you ask me whether we should use 8, 11 or 12, I can just share with you that right now in the market, most of the institutions, they are using 11 PLO. So they have revised their PLO to become 11 PLO. But we do see that some institutions are using 8 PLO, there's no wrong. And then most of the time, engineering program they will have 12 PLOs to fit with their the requirements from their board of engineers, yeah, engineer boards that require it to have 12 PLOs. So this is again go back to your institutional level to decide whether all the program offered in a particular university should have 8 PLO, 11 PLO, or 12 PLO. So this can be discussed in your school board with your dean together and then present to the UCAR and decide whether which number of PLO is needed. So as far as I know that WOU currently is practicing 8 PLO, yeah, 8 PLO for all the program. So you can clarify this with your dean or your program leader to know about this if you are tasked to develop new program later. Okay, so in summary, whether you have 8, 11, 12 PLO is okay. Both, all of these three are accepted. But as long as you have to remember, no matter it's 11, 8, or 12, you must cover all the 5 clusters of learning outcome, and the mapping should be 1-to-1. Yeah, mapping should be 1-to-1. One PLO mapped to one particular scale. Yeah, so this is a thing that you need to know are more important. The second question that most probably you will ask me is that what are the content that you must put in your PO? Yeah, so it's like writing your program education objective. You to put in the scale that you want your graduates to acquire or achieve upon graduation. So the difference between PLO and PO is that PO focusing on after 4 to 5 years, what should they acquire? While PLO focus on upon graduation, what should they acquire? So you must mention the scale, yeah, that you want your graduates to acquire upon the graduation. You can get the input from a stakeholder, from an industry member, and other external parties to give you the ideas of what are the skill set required for the graduates in order to be competent in the job markets later. So in operational wise, technical wise, you can include non-measurable words in developing your program learning outcome. So it's okay, yeah. For example, you can include like understand, know, and acquire. It's okay for you to put in those words. So the third issue is how PLO will be measured, yeah. So MQA does not provide us any universal metrics for the HEP to refer to or use to measure the PLO. But the measurement of PLO is a must for every institution. Yeah. So in the past, we tend to use the qualitative methods where we assume that once the students achieve the CLO, they will automatically achieve the PLO. However, things have changed, and then MQA right now are actually require more things, yeah, more things from us. So we must be able to show to them what are the data that we have collected, yeah, to show that the PLO has been achieved by our students. So you must be able to show the data. So from qualitative, it has moved towards quantitative right now, where we need to use data to prove the achievement of the PLO. So this is referring back to something similar to ICGPA that we have abandoned quite some time during the monthly generation, where they have abandoned the ICGPA approach. That ICGPA metrics is actually used to measure the PLO. Okay, so right now every institutions they have developed their own metrics, yeah, to measure the attainment of the PLO based on their own effort. Okay, so you can always refer to your dean for the metrics that's currently used by WOU, yeah, in how to measure the PLO. For the OBE committee, we have actually proposed a new metrics to be used across WOU, but it's still under review by the relative boards and committees. And once the metrics approved, then we will share with all of you, and perhaps we can give you another training on how to use that metrics, yeah. So again, the next one, is it PLO is a document for internal use only? So bear in mind that PLO and PO is the same. You must communicate this program learning outcome to all your stakeholders, include the students. The students should be able to know that what are the PLO of the program that they are studying. So normally people will put in the PLO into their program handbook specifically, so that students will know. So some of them will put into their website, and some of them will paste it on the notice board as well. These are the common place that people have used to convey their PLO to the respective students. Okay, So we have finished discussing about the key issue related with program learning outcome. The next one we're going to see is the characteristics of the program learning outcome. So you can see that this is a typical example of the PLO developed for, I think, for a business program. Okay, for a business program. So you can see that there's this institution basically use 11 PLO approach. So that's why there's 11 PLO over here. So how this PLO is mapped towards the 5 cluster of learning. So remember, when you're writing your PLO that time, first you must have stated that this PLO at the end of the program, a student is able to indicate that this is a PLO, yeah? Because PLO is measured at the end of the program upon graduations. So in each of your PLO, you must have the action verbs apply and also the relative keywords that map against the MQF framework, which is the 5 learning cluster. I have like bolded here. You can see the first one, knowledge, is mapped against the first cluster, knowledge and understanding. That's why you bracket at the back MQF1. So people know that it's referring to the first cluster of learning. The second one, analyze problems or issue, is related to the cognitive scale. Display practical scale, social and collaborative scale, interpersonal scale, communication scale, manage information effectively using digital technology, so digital scale, data analysis scale, numericacy scale, responsible proactive behavior, leading, so obviously this is again leadership, yeah, and responsibility, good personal management scale, personal scale, entrepreneurial scale, ethics and professionalism for the last one. So you can see that all of the 11 PLO over here, each of the PLO is mapped against the learning cluster on a one-to-one mapping basis. Okay, it's based on a one-to-one mapping basis. It's okay for you to use non-measurable keywords like demonstrate, yeah, so it's okay, but remember it must be mapped against one-to-one of the 5 cluster of learning outcomes, and then covers all the 5 cluster of learning outcomes over here. Okay, so this is basically the characteristics of how you write your program learning outcomes. So the 5 cluster of learning outcome basically come from this Malaysia's qualification framework 2.0, yeah, 2.0. So it's have stated that the 5 cluster of learning outcome is this area. So in the following discussion, I will be discuss with you in brief what's the meaning of each of these cluster all about, so that you will have a knowledge when developing your program learning outcome that time. The first cluster talk about knowledge and understanding. So this cluster focusing on understanding of facts and ideas, information, concept and theories related to your program context, like for example in business or software engineering or in computing, yeah. Okay, so basically it's related to understanding of facts and ideas. Cognitive skills refers to the ability to apply the skill and the understanding. So this is referring to like whether they are able to apply the understanding to solve a particular problem. So this is referring to cognitive skill, their thinking and intellectual capabilities. Okay. Then the third one, practical skill. This is related to work skill and operational skill. Yeah. So if you look at the explanation, it is involved like planning, organization, or selection of tools, or use certain technology or procedures are related to practical skill, or undertaking some procedures. Yeah. So or conduct some research is considered part of the practical skill. Interpersonal skill refers to managing the relationship, yeah, in the teams or within the organization, networking with people. So these are referring to the interpersonal skill. Communication skill are referred to whether they are able to convey the information or ideas or report professionally in the appropriate language. So the communication skill are more focusing on how students can present their ideas and their thinking. Digital skills are refers to the ability to use digital technology to support their work or study, whether they know how to use a particular software in solving some particular problems, application, or any specific digital tool could be part under digital skill. Numeracy skill are referring to the quantitative skill, whether they have the ability to do maths, for example. Yeah, basic mathematics, statistics usually are part under this numeracy skill. Leadership and autonomy. So let me adjust. Okay. Leadership and autonomy are referring to abilities of the individuals to build relationship with the team member, yeah, and lead and make decisions, set goal, yeah, take accountability, okay, are referring to leadership, autonomy and responsibilities cluster. Okay. Similarly, while the personal and the entrepreneurial scale are referring to the ability of the students or the graduates to plan for career development, honesty, punctuality, time management. Okay, these are all relevant to personal and entrepreneurial scale. The last one, ethics and professionalism, are focusing on the awareness and understanding on the respect of a specific ethical and social and cultural issue, yeah, and taking up their professional responsibilities. Like for example, if they are accounting, then make sure that uh, they are not involved in creative accounting, right? So they must be able to upholding regulations, follow the laws, and provide a good practice of conduct. Yeah. So this is all referring to ethics and professionalism. So basically, these are the five MQF cluster that you need to be aware of. Yeah, when you want to design your program learning outcome. You can always download this MQF 2.0 from the MQF website to know more about it, so that later on when you want to design your program learning outcome at time, you will know specifically how to write your statement accordingly, so that you'll be able to demonstrate the keywords that map against the MQF 2.0 framework, which is the 5 cluster of learning outcome. Okay. Yep, I hope that you have some basic understanding about the program learning outcome right now. The next topic that we will go into will be how to write the course learning outcome. This will be more challenging and more interesting as well, because there will be more things to be discussed under this CLO. See you in the next video.